Welcome. My name is Ryan Stefani. I am a project manager here at Crow Canyon. Just want to say thanks for joining us today to go through an automation of a purchase request system for SharePoint Online, SharePoint on-premise. Before I get started, I just want to do a quick overview of Crow Canyon, kind of give you an idea of who we are, how we operate, and then we'll hop right into the application itself. So we've been around since 1999. Crow Canyon started as a help desk system on the old Outlook folders, and then we've been building on top of SharePoint for quite some time now. So that's both on-premise and online. So one side, we have two distinct sides of our business, really. One side is our out-of-the-box applications, which you're going to be seeing today. Purchase requests, IT help desk, asset management, a few others. And if you want to know more information about those, you feel free to reach out to us. But today, like I said, we are going to be covering the purchase request system. Now, the other side of what we do is called the Nitro Studio. And what the Nitro Studio is a set of tools that we've developed to enhance SharePoint, the out-of-the-box SharePoint look and feel, functionality, forms, workflows, etc. And that's going to be a heavy factor into our demonstration today. So not only do we use the standard, kind of SharePoint pages, lists, libraries, etc., but we are taking and using the Nitro Studio heavily in our applications as well. So as we work our way through the demo, I am going to point out the differentiation between the two. But keep in mind that as we work our way through these applications or the purchase request system today, we can be flexible. We can make changes to the out-of-the-box functionality. So using that tool set, using the Nitro Studio, you can configure and make these applications yours if you go down this route. So with that in mind, let's hop into the demo itself. All right. So this is our purchase order system. Now, first thing I like to point out is, the color scheme, the logo. Do keep in mind again that is configurable, right? This is going to match your internal requirements, your own color scheme, your own logo, your own setup. If you're using a CSS file, that can be inherited on this page as well. And just a quick reminder, if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to pop those into the questions area in the GoToWebinar. We will be answering those as we move through the application demonstration. So branding, look and feel, that's all configurable within the Nitro Studio, again, our application creation suite. Now let's talk about the two different workflows in the purchase order system. So the first is purchase request, right? Well, the first really is this dashboard, like being able to, from the admin perspective, whether that's the finance team or whoever's going to be managing the purchase requests and purchase orders, they're going to have this overview, this dashboard view of what's going on with anything in the system. So up here at the top, they can filter through purchase requests or purchase orders. And then they almost have like a project view as to what's going on with each individual request or purchase order, right? So from this overview perspective, you kind of get that yellow light, red light, green light setup of, hey, where are we in the process, right? Or is this been fulfilled? Has the PO been generated? Are we pending approval? So they can easily see where each request stands in the approval process or in the purchase order process. And then if you drill down, you can see more information associated with this particular request, right? Who was submitted for, what the description of the PR was, what the department it is, the total cost, etc. Same with the purchase orders as well. You get an overview of, hey, now it's become a purchase order. What's going on with the items in that purchase order? Where do they stand in the process of being ordered? So it's a nice, clean, easily digestible view of, hey, what's going on with my particular department. Well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about how we submit a purchase request, right? So how do purchase requests get into the system? So we make them available in a form. Now this form can be, internally facing. It can be submitted by, your management team, your finance team, like I said, or we can make it end user facing as well, through a portal. One of the pieces that I won't touch on too much in the Nitro Studio today is called our Power Portal. And again, if you want to learn more about Nitro or the applications in more depth, please feel free to reach out to us. But just real quick overview, our Nitro Power Portal is a way for your end users to interface with our departments. So whether that's the the finance team, like we're talking about here, the purchase request team, it gives them another site to navigate to where they can submit forms, just like the one I'm showing now, view knowledge-based articles. It builds that interaction between the end user and the back-end staff without having to worry about permissioning your end users to your actual site, the one we're working in here. So it's a nice way, like I said, to have that connection between the two sides. All right, now the form. So submitting a purchase request is done through our Nitro forms. Again, touching on the Nitro Studio piece. I'm going to be a bit of a broken record in that regard today, so just kind of bear with me on that. But this is how the form comes out of the box. And what I like to touch on here is, how configurable this form is. So if you want to make changes, capture more information, that is absolutely achievable. And again, if you want to touch on that in more detail, please feel free to reach out. But like these drop downs, the priorities, the departments, these are all going to match your internal requirements. This is a piece of the installation setup process. You're going to have the ability to come in and define your own departments, your own priorities, etc. But let's work our way through this form a little bit. So let's just do a test PR for our demo today. Well, it's actually a webinar. Make it a normal priority. You have the ability to determine if it's budgeted or not. This comes up a lot. So you can, right now out of the box, it gives you the ability to check if it's budgeted or not. There are some additional workflows and notifications you can build around this budgeted column. If you have questions about that, feel free to pop those in, or like I said, reach out after the webinar itself. Type of purchase, we're just going to do general today, and we'll do finance. Purchase agent and submitted for. What's nice here is that, we're syncing up with SharePoint user profiles or Active Directory. So from who's ever submitting this form, it makes it really easy because they can just start typing in a name and it's going to pre-populate, right? All they have to do is select it. They're not going to have to go through and find emails or find users in the system. It's a natural extension of your Office 365 environment or your SharePoint on-premise environment. We do have the ability to install within both. So like I said, AD, SharePoint user profiles, your end users, form submitters are just going to have to type in that name and it's going to populate there for them. Now, adding line items to a purchase request. What's nice here is that we've gone through a recent update and we've added some flexibility into adding line items to a PR form. So what I like about this is that it gives you two options. The first option is to select from a product catalog. Right, we all have, all businesses have a kind of pre-selected, hey, you can buy these 4 laptops, hey, you can buy these 3 monitors that are purchased from a catalog. But let's say we're going off script a little bit and maybe that catalog's not, maybe that item's not in the catalog. Maybe you're working with a new vendor, right? A good example here is Crow Canyon. Hey, this purchase request system looks great. I want to interact with this vendor and get it added to our Office 365 environment. Well, for a new vendor, they're typically not going to be in that catalog, right? So it gives you the ability, the flexibility, I should say, to not only have that set, here are the items you can order for these particular categories, but also ad hoc, and they can build on the fly. So let's just kind of work our way through here. I'm going to go off the category because we do have some contingency columns built in here that I want to touch on. So let's say if we do like a hardware asset, we'll do a Dell. So you can see right here, the price per unit's auto-populated. So this is reading off of a back-end list, and it's kind of a set and forget in the sense of, hey, we're gonna set this price per unit for this particular desktop. And so when this gets populated, it's not on the end user to go in and fill this out. It's gonna show up there for them, right? Now you have control as admins to come in and make changes to the back end to determine the price per unit, but it does give you the ability to fill that out as kind of like that set and forget mentality. Now quantity, right? You can fill in how many you need. Really, it's up to you there. Description, right? New desktop. Okay. And then you have the ability to tie vendors in as well. So if you're working with a certain vendor, whether it's Dell, Office Max, whoever it is that you're purchasing this particular desktop from, you can either A, add them into the system if they're new, this vendors list here on the left, or add in or tie in an existing vendor that's already in the system to this purchase request. Now this is, I'm gonna kind of take a sidestep. This is a plug for the Nitro Studio again, but what's nice here is that we can automatically associate 2 lists together through some of our form settings. So instead of having to create a purchase item, go back to another SharePoint list, find a vendor, link that vendor to the original item, writing code or trying to find, create a lookup column or whatever whatever you have to do to link those two lists together. We've taken a lot of that stress and development out of it, and we've already connected those two lists out of the box, right? So you're going to see that a lot as we work our way through this demonstration, whether it's through the categories and selected items or the vendor itself. Not only do we have contingencies built in, like, item to category and price per unit to item, but also linking multiple lists together. Surface level, it looks pretty straightforward, but as you start to peel back the covers, you can see that we've taken SharePoint and really made it easy to use from not only an end user perspective, but from an admin perspective as well. All right, so let's add this item to the purchase request. And what's nice here is that you're not limited to one item per form. You have the ability to come in and add multiple items per form. And let's just build in an ad hoc one here now. Let's say Samsung. Oh, help if I could spell. Okay. Right, so now obviously we're not going to have a price per unit, so it's going to be on, the onus is on the form submitter, but that's fine. We'll just plug one in here. Probably a little bit more expensive for a phone. Add in quantity 1. Now, as we added this new line item in, what I want to point out here is we also have an aggregate total building here at the bottom. So we've added our 3 desktops, we've added our phone, and it's going to keep a running total cost here at the bottom. Nice to see how much the purchase request is going to be, but that's going to come in, it's going to factor in here in a minute. So now if you want to add in any comments, you can. Hey, I need this desktop and phone for X, Y, and Z. If you want to go past just the short description at the top, it gives you the ability to add in more comments for this particular purchase request. Now, submit for approval. Let's talk a little bit about the approval process. So what's nice here is that the system's going to let you know that everything's been submitted, successfully, that, hey, the purchase request went off without a hitch, right? Submitted for approval. So the approval process, so this is kind of the big talking point in, let me just reload this here real quick. So the approvals are going to be the big talking point whenever we talk about a purchase request system, right? Who the approvers are, how we define the approvers, and what that looks like. So using the admin center up here in the upper right-hand corner, if you have proper access, you can come in and make changes to the back end, right? Whether it's to the existing lists, those departments like we talked about, right? Being able to add in your own departments, your own purchase categories and catalog, right? This is the area where you get to define those items. But we can also make changes to the approval levels. What's nice about the approval setup is that you're not limited to, well, I don't know if limited is the right word. The better way to say it is you have a lot of flexibility. So you can determine approval levels based on department, based on amount, type of purchase, purchase category, purchase catalog, and then you can also factor in multiple levels. So you're not limited to just one level. You're not limited to 2 levels, right? You can really take it and run with it. But as you can see here, we have a three-tiered system set up out of the box or configured in this demo site. And what's nice here is that you can do it based on amount, like I said, or those other contingencies. So typically, you have to build out your own set of approvers for the sales department, and then another set of approvers for the payroll department, etc. Here you can throw it as like a broad spectrum of, hey, we just have 3 levels of approvers no matter what the purchase is, or we have different approvers based on the amount of the purchase request, or you can go back to that original setup I talked about where, hey, each department has its own set of approvers and then it goes to an overarching approval level. The idea here is that you have the flexibility and the tools to do so. So you're not locked in by any means. As we all know, everyone's purchase request workflow approval process is a little different, right? No 2 companies are the same, and I think that's a real big selling point here for this system is that, hey, you're not pigeonholed into a certain type of approval process. We can match your internal requirements and we can make it make sense for you. All right. So once the approval levels are defined and that purchase request is submitted for approval, the approvers on the back end, right? So the purchase request is submitted, sent off. Each approval level is going to be notified via email, and they're going to be assigned an approval task. So first level approver gets it. Let's say it's, it meets that first level requirements under $1,000 for that particular department. What's nice here is that they're going to be notified via email, and they're going to get a notification. Hey, a new purchase request has been submitted. You need to go in and approve this task. Now they have the option to either approve it, deny it, or send it back. And whenever they make a change to that, that approval task, it's going to give them a notes box and say, hey, why did you approve it? Why did you deny it? Why did you send it back? So that if it does go back to the end user, or if it is denied, they have notes to come in and, hey, either resubmit or it was denied for this reason. And that's also for talking about if it's approved, the next level, right? So say if there is a multi-tiered approval level, level 1 gets it, they get the approval task, they approve it. Now we're just replicating the process and it's going to tier 2. Hey, a new purchase request has been submitted. It passed level 1 approval. Here's approver 1's comments. Now it's the onus is on you to go in and approve this purchase request and keep moving it down the line. So again, a lot of flexibility in what you can do with not only the approver levels, but what happens when that approver gets the approval task. Now, once it works its way through the system, okay, we have a purchase request turns into a purchase order. Okay, a PO is generated. We've done some again, we've added some functionality into how SharePoint comes out of the box. So those approver workflows are set and forget. Those are automated workflows, right? Notify this person, notify this person, notify this person. The other side, or another piece of the Nitro Studio is called custom actions, right? So we have the automated workflow side. Custom actions are like manually invoked workflows. That's the best way to describe them. So what you can do with these manually invoked workflows, these custom actions, is add them into the display form of any SharePoint form. Right now we're looking at the purchase request. So what it does is that it gives you the ability to fire off and create a purchase order, manually invoke this workflow from the form itself. So not only can you have it be automated and update if it goes through the approval workflow process, but you can also do it from the form itself. And what's nice here is that it gives you an audit trail. So this approval tab pops up, and if you have multiple levels of approvers, you can see, hey, who approved this task? When they approved it, what they said, etc. It gives you that kind of fallback that if something does pop up, you have the complete audit trail on the approval process. All right, so now that we've converted this to a purchase order, let's take a look at the purchase order forms. And again, as this is loading, when we talk about converting from a purchase request to a purchase order, you can also have those end users be notified, or I guess the best way to say it is form submitter be notified that, hey, your purchase request is approved. Now it's a purchase order. So that is something that you can look at as well. Okay, so purchase orders. As you can see, kind of self-explanatory. We added some more forms across the top. So what's nice here, again, talking about linking multiple lists together, multiple forms together, it gives you a look back into the original purchase request. So if you have any questions or want to refer back, it gives you the ability to pull up that purchase request in line and see the information there associated with that purchase request. Finance department details, check numbers, invoice numbers, things like that can also be stored against the purchase order. But really the functionality comes in updating this purchase order. What happens when we start to receive these goods? So now you can drill down. What's nice here is that you're not stuck, updating this purchase order when you get all of the items in. So say we have a multiple line item purchase request turns into a purchase order like we do here. And as you can see, you have the ability to break them out, right? Say the LaserJet printer came in before anything else did, you have the ability to come in and mark these as received or fulfilled when the line items start to flow in. So we'll give you an idea of what that looks like. Pull up this Dell here. Again, what we're going to do is we're going to leverage our custom actions, those manually invoked workflows, to fire off the process. So you have the ability to come in and update the received quantity, right? There was one ordered, we got one in. And again, the system's gonna let you know what it's doing. Hey, do you have the proper permissions? We're gonna update that column, all right? Fulfill the PO, no, it's partially fulfilled because we still have those other line items needing to be collected. And this is now marked as received, right? So gives you control to work your way through the entire form and mark these off as received, completed, etc. as you know, as the goods come in. And again, from this overview dashboard, you can see exactly, hey, where we stand in each purchase request or purchase order, right? Partially fulfilled, fulfilled, PO generated. It gives you that overview for the kind of 10,000 foot overview is the best way to say it. But each dashboard or each workflow, each form also has its own dashboard. So not only do we have this overview page here, but when we break down into the individual purchase order or purchase request, we also have different dashboards built in. Now this is another two other areas of the Nitro Studio that come in and make it easier or give you a cleaner interface to work with SharePoint. So this top web part here is called Tiles and Dials. And it's a nice overview of, hey, where did the purchase orders stand? Instead of looking at them from that dashboard or from that project view, I can see, hey, when it, what needs to be ordered, what's reconciled, what's open. And then you can also see a breakdown of our reporting tool. Now, these are specific to Crocanian. This is the Crocanian reports feature inside the Nitro Studio. And what's nice about these reports are not only are they live, so these will update when a list item is updated, aka a purchase request or a purchase order. But these are also drill downs. So also the tiles and dials as well as the statuses, right? If I click on these, it's going to take me to that view on that list. The really handy piece here is that these reports can be saved as a PDF or exported as a PDF, saved as a PNG, sent as an email, or printed. So they can be manually, those 4 actions can be manually done, but we also have the ability with our workflow tool to schedule these reports. So let's say, you have to push these up the chain every first of the month, 8 a.m., June 1. You can schedule these reports to be sent to a group or a person of your choosing based on that time cadence. Hey, every Monday morning, I want to see an overview of what's going on with the purchase order system, right? Or I got to send it to management at this day, at this time. Using that workflow tool, you do have the ability to send those. But like I said, they're also live. So if you want to make these dashboards available to your management staff, you have the ability to do so as well. And the same goes for the purchase request, right? Purchase request dashboard. It gives you a nice interface, a nice way to work with SharePoint that's outside of the norm. So submitting, automating, I guess circling back to automating purchase requests, right? We have the ability to submit that form, have multiple line items per purchase request, go through an approval process defined by, your company internally, turn it into a purchase order and track those purchase orders. One of the things that I want to touch on before we wrap up here, or before we open it for questions or we answer, any questions that came in, is very rarely do we see an entire purchase order or purchase request system fully contained within SharePoint, right? Most companies run an ERP system, a finance system, a QuickBooks system, some way to not only track the purchase request, but also the financial details behind it, right? So using our Nitro Studio, using our tools that we have in place to enhance SharePoint, we have a couple of options to build in connections there. So Crocanian ourselves, we don't have any out-of-the-box API integrations, but we do have the ability to build those connections in. So we use, in our forms, we have the ability to inject custom JavaScript, call out to external data columns to pre-populate, certain items in a SharePoint form. But now in our workflow tool, we also have the ability to leverage Microsoft Flow. So Microsoft Flow has a lot of API integrations, ready to go out of the box. And since we are a SharePoint platform, we're taking advantage of Microsoft's out-of-the-box functionalities. We have now built in that connection to leverage that flow piece as well. So, really, no one wants to do duplicate data entry, right? It's pain. No one loves it. So having this system contained within SharePoint, not only are you leveraging a system that you're already using, right? In Office 365 or SharePoint on-premise, it's self-contained within your environment. You control the data, you control who has access to your system, but you can also build those other third-party connections, right? You're not pigeonholed into duplicate data entry. So it really becomes a kind of a one-stop shop for your entire purchase order process. So the big tagline was automate your purchase request system. So not only can you do that, get away from paper forms, or like I said, leverage your out-of-the-box function, or leverage your existing platform, your Office 365 or SharePoint environment, but you can also build on those connections to those other third-party systems and really automate the process from start to finish. So I think now that we got about 4 minutes left, I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're gonna answer some questions that have come in. So Scott, I don't know if you're still with me, but if what questions did you want to bring up, or did you want to touch on while we had the time?
I'm here. Yes, yes, yeah. Thanks, Ryan. We're looking at some people are asking questions about approval processes and the level 1, 2, 3. You did cover pretty well about the complexities, how you can put on different factors on the purchase request. Maybe open up a purchase request. Let's look at that again, and we'll
Sure.
talk about the flexibility of the purchase request approval process, how it can be routed to automatically, whether it's level 1, level 2, level 3, and as many levels as you want,
Mhm.
based on a lot of it's based on how much the total cost is, right?
Right.
And the department, maybe the type of purchase. So really, any one of those could be a criteria. And so you can have level 1, say up to 5,000, level 2, level 3. The question is, does level 1, say it's a $50,000 purchase, and you need level 1, level 2, and level 3. If level 1 canceled it, level 2 disapproved it, then it would never get to level 3, right?
Hmm.
It has to
Right.
go through everybody. Now you can also have parallel and serial approval processes too, where there are multiple people at one level that have to either all of them approve it or one of them approves it to move it along. So basically you said the same thing, which is there's such a multitude of approval scenarios that we can all incorporate them into the system. That's basically what we come down to.
Right, that's a great point. I mean, and I actually had a similar question on a demo yesterday or the day before about, hey, if it ticks a certain level or it goes over a certain cost, can we skip level 1 and level 2? We touched on it a little bit, but it always is nice to come back around to that to this point is absolutely. What's nice about SharePoint is that we have the flexibility to make changes that make sense for your guys' internal requirements, right? It's not a private cloud. It's not something that's completely locked down. Using the Nitro Studio, using some SharePoint wherewithal, we can go in and make this make sense for you. Whether it's our team, and shameless plug for our development team, they're very good. Uh, but you can always leverage us to make those changes and make that happen. But we also give you the keys to the car in the sense that Nitro Studio is included in these applications. So if you want to take it and make changes to the workflows, make changes to the forms, you have the complete ability to do so. And if you want to know more about that form process, the workflow process, the approval flow, I'd be happy to schedule any one-on-one calls and really dive down into any of those questions that you have. Scott, would you agree?
Yes, that's true. And touching on the form there, like you were just mentioning, this form can be revised a lot. I don't know I guess if people are interested in seeing the Nitro Forms Designer and the Nitro workflow tools, we can do sessions with them individually to show them the capabilities, the wide range of capabilities to modify the colors, the layout, the tabs,
Hmm.
whatever you think you need to do to make it put into place what you want. Like one factor could be adding more budgeting capabilities where we go out and bring in information about what budget, how much money is left in the budget for this year. So that could be compared to how much the cost of the product is, or it could be, all kinds of ways of enhancing this to meet the needs of the particular organization, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And yeah, more than happy to. The forms designer piece will take, takes a good 20 to 30 minutes on its own. How we can do those things, like you said, pulling in budget from other third-party systems. So if you are interested, please reach out, let us know. We'd be happy to do so.
Yeah, generally the best approach, I think you said this, Ryan, is to get in touch with us and say, here's what we need to do in purchasing. It's such an idiosyncratic process. I mean, unique to each organization. There's some
Mhm.
general principles that apply, but our experience with purchasing, the same with onboarding for that matter. Every organization has a particular way they're used to doing things, or they want to do things, or it
Right.
depends on the currency, the cost levels, how complex the organization is, and we can meet all those needs. So we show you a
Mhm.
generic version, kind of a base version here, but we really are interested in talking to people about what their needs are, requirements are, and we're confident that with the flexibility of SharePoint and Office 365, we can work it out to do that process and make things run more efficiently.
That's exactly right. I mean, just kind of piggybacking on top of that, out of the box isn't going to work perfectly for you. 80, let's be real, 85 to 90% of the way, or it's probably going to get you 85 to 85 to 90% of the way. Sorry, a little tongue tied. But like you said, we have the ability to make that last 10 to 15% make sense for you, make sense for your, internal requirements. And what's nice here is that you don't have to do the full development to get you 90% of the way there, right? We have a nice foot to start off on with our out of the box application. And leveraging either our services, your SharePoint knowledge, Nitro Studio, the headache of only configuring 10% versus building an application from scratch, or bringing in a consultant who builds something that is specific to them and not specific to your company, really it just makes the solution in my mind more attractive than starting from scratch. And I did see a question come in about migration from 2013 to SharePoint Online in the future. Absolutely. I mean, if you want to start on 2013 and look at moving to online down the road, we'll never shy away from helping our customers out. Now, obviously, migrations can be tricky, but to say no, it can't be done would be false. If you wanted to start on 2013 and move to Office 365, absolutely.
That's right. And did you mention that it's on SharePoint 2013, 2016, 2019 on premises? All this works, as well as Office 365, right?
Great
It's
point. Yeah, I did not mention that. So yeah, 13, 16, and 19. So we do have all of this available and ready to go for all three versions of SharePoint, on-prem as well as online.
Yeah, I think you're demoing an on-premise one, right?
I am correct.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and not only the SharePoint Online is a good point, but the modern and the classic UI. So we are fully functional for all versions of SharePoint. We got all bases covered. So whatever you guys need, just let us know. We'd be happy to set up a time to talk individually.
Here's an interesting question. If one of the line items is disapproved, it's not approval per item, is it? Per line item. It's approval of the whole request, right?
Right now, out of the box, I believe it's for the whole request. Yeah. Now this question has come up before in the past with other customers. A customer we did um, 2018, January 2018. They were doing it per line item, so it is possible, and that's something we'd be happy to discuss. On a call or maybe a personalized demo. That is possible though.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, because
Mhm.
each line we do have it so that each line item we record what's been received in purchasing and how
Mhm.
much. Even if it's like 10 cases of something, we could record that 5 cases of that line item were received and 5 are still outstanding. And the,
Right.
and the other thing about this, when you receive materials from the purchase order, that can initiate a process. Like say it's assets, computer assets, you can
Mhm.
send that over to the IT, and then initiate work orders in our system that say go configure these or install these or whatever you have to do to get that thing that's been delivered into service. So this purchase order can segue into a whole help desk or work order or asset management, equipment management systems that we have in SharePoint also.
Right. It's a good point. Yeah. So I mean, going back to the question, I don't see it, being an issue, right? Like being able to, um, deny it or approve based on the line item itself. I think that's possible. And then can approvals be based on purchase a type and amount? Purchase type and amount. And the answer there is absolutely. Purchase type, amount, purchase category, department, global. It's up to you on how you want to define those approval levels.
Good, good. Yeah, purchasing is a big topic with SharePoint and Office 365 these days, and we have a lot of
Mhm.
interest. So, any feedback, any comments, any interest, we'd be really glad to talk to people individually. You know,
Yeah, let me put this slide back up. Let me see if I can find it here. So yeah, if you do want to contact us, sales@crowcanyon.com. Go to our website. There are contact forms on the site there. You can always call us. We will send you an email post webinar with the recording. So that will be out. Oh, what did Scott? You think sometime in the next 24 hours or so?
yeah, probably by Monday, if not tomorrow. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and then if we didn't get to any of your questions, sit tight. I'll make sure to personally answer those after the webinar today. But like I said, if you do have interest and you want to know more either about the purchase request system or the Nitro Studio, be happy to sit down and do just a personalized hour session with anyone.
Sounds good. We hope to
Great.
hear from people.
Yeah, thanks for joining everybody, and we'll hopefully talk to you guys soon. You
Yeah,
guys have a nice day.
let's make a note that we also have other application webinars coming up in June, July, and August, so you can
Great
participate
point.
in them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. Sorry, I jumped the gun a little. Yeah, so not only do we have the purchase request, that one we're doing today, but we're going to touch on a few other applications: IT help desk, asset management, onboarding, which is another big one. And as we work our way through the application webinars, we're also going to talk about how those tie together, right? So whether it's like Scott mentioned, purchase request to asset management, IT to asset management, IT to onboarding, the idea here is that all of these applications can be connected and really start to build out an entire back end or front end process for your Office 365 SharePoint on-premise environment.
Right. That's the Crow Canyon application webinars, kind of a funny takeoff on the Crow.
I like
But
that.
I know the other thing is you can meet Ryan or I, both of us in person. We'll be at the Las Vegas show next week. I'll be in New York at the SharePoint Saturday in Manhattan, and Ryan and I will both be up in Seattle at the SharePoint Fest in late August, August 21st to 23rd.
Mhm.
So we're at many shows many of the shows that SharePoint conferences, SharePoint Saturdays, SharePoint Fest, you name it. We're get around to meet our customers and talk with them and find out what's going on and see what we can do for them to help their businesses run better, more efficient. We always like meeting people and saying hi
Mhm.
and talking about the product.
Yeah, it's always nice to put a face to the name too. You just hear us on the other side of the webinar screen. It's nice to come out and meet us in person, and yeah, be happy to chat.
Okay, good. I think we covered pretty much everything, and good job, Brian. All right.
Great. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. And like we said, we'll get those videos out to you shortly. And like we said a few times now, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you.